Yo, so guys, welcome back to another video. This is another infographic show reaction, and this one is something that I've never really looked at before, and it's the title is "What the Last 24 Hours of Death Row Prisoner Look Like." Well, the last 24 hours of Death Row prisoner look like. Is that right, Graham, or am I reading that wrong? I mean, I get the gist of it, which is the last 24 hours of a death row inmate, or whatever you want to say. And this is another culturally different thing, because in the UK, obviously, there's no death row. Well, there was, but there's not any of it, so it doesn't go on here. So it's definitely a different thing for me to see. But I remember I've seen a few documentaries here and there about like death row inmates, and it's one of the most fascinating things. Like, they've done the most just absolutely just insane things, like just gruesome things, sad things, like whatever they've done, it's just ridiculous. And yeah, I mean, there's some crazy people, but I don't know, I don't really know much about it other than just seeing a few documentaries here and there. But obviously the last 24 hours of their life, I feel like they get like treated really well for the last like day of their life or whatever. Maybe like the best, I think they get like their own foods and stuff, I don't know though. But yeah, we're going to get into this. I don't know if people are going to go and enjoy this, but maybe if you want more reactions like this, please let me know what you want to see. But yeah, man, something different. Quick shout out to my Instagram, my Twitter, links in the description for those interested in following. My Instagram's closing on 6k, so I'd appreciate you helping me get to that. And yeah, my Patreon as well, links in the description for those interested in that. But let's get into this one.
At the time of writing, there are 2,738 inmates on death row in the United States. This number can change quite frequently, given that some prisoners, of course...
Wait, there's 2,700 at the moment? Well, when was this made? 2 years ago? So yeah, it probably fluctuates.
...might be executed, but others might have their sentence commuted. They might have their sentence overturned, or...
Oh, so you can have it overturned. How likely is that to happen?
Someone else might join them on death row. Right now, only 2% of people on death row are women.
Wow.
42% of people are classified as white, 41% black, 13% Latino, 1.9% Asian, 1% Native American, and the rest is stated as unknown. You can be on death row for a long time. And believe it or not, the average time spent there from sentencing to the day in the execution.
So do you know when it's your day, or do you just sort of get told on the day? But 20 years, imagine waiting 20 years and then you just realize, yeah, it's your time. Like, it's just like you're living on a sentence kind of thing.
Is 20 years. Let's now see what happens on that final day. 8 p.m. The inmate is taken from death row to another cell. This involves a drive from the prison to what one former official in a documentary called the Death House. That official said prior to leaving death row and getting in the van to come to the death house, the inmate will be searched really well. He said this wasn't only because a weapon might harm a guard, but mainly because they don't want the prisoner committing suicide. Another guard interviewed said he once took a route to the death house where they couldn't be ambushed. Tensions are high during these events. He also said the atmosphere in the van was solemn. We all knew where we were going and why. Nobody said a whole lot. Once the prisoner goes into the death house, he won't ever see the light of day again, unless some kind of appeal works for him. 9 p.m. After booking in, he can sleep until he's awakened, if indeed he can sleep.
Yeah.
We managed to find the diary of one prisoner who described his move to his new cell. They stripped me out with a female officer present, he wrote. Now, personally, I'm not the shy type, but having a female officer on death watch is just one more humiliation. We're told that during this time, the prisoner is on something called death watch. He's watched all the time in case he tries to take his own life. The cell is close to the execution chamber and it is very private, a space where the inmate can reflect on life as the hours count down. This might happen just one day before, but we found cases where it was a couple of days. Prisoners will also be given special clothes in most cases, much smarter than prison attire. The man who kept the diary wrote he was happy to have at last a pair of trousers with a button and zip. We don't know how well he slept, but in his diary he comments about watching the guards sleep. This is what he wrote. Good for them. I'm sure this has to be stressful for them. So a moment's relaxation is well earned. I also enjoy the irony. Who exactly is watching whom? One other thing he says is that the death house is much cleaner than his death row cell. He remarks that there's not a bug in sight, whereas in his last cell it was like going on safari. 4:30 a.m. The inmate is woken up bright and early in his cell. We should add here times might change from place to place. Petitions might still be pending, and there's a phone right outside the cell. In the cell, there's a shower, a toilet, a bed, and a desk. During this last day, the prisoner is allowed to see family and can be visited by a chaplain. As for calling people, the inmate can write down a list of phone.
Such a depressing last day of your life, man. I can't imagine the emotions that there would be, seeing your family and all that kind of stuff. It must be a weird
numbers he intends to call,
I mean,
and give
that
to the guards. One guard interviewed said we would dial the number for him and then allow him to make his call. But after the prisoner has called the last person on his list, the only person he'll have to talk to is the chaplain. We're told that after this last call, it can be a very traumatic time. One chaplain interviewed said I was to do everything and anything to help him face that last day, whatever it was, writing letters, making phone calls, singing songs, listening, and listening. 8 a.m. We said they can have visitors, but 8 a.m. is the cutoff time. After that, the prisoner is on his own, besides having prison staff around and, of course, anyone involved in his case should something change. The chaplain can still visit too. At around this time, in the actual death chamber, it's very likely that the equipment will be tested. This might mean checking that the straps on the gurney work, or even checking the phone to the governor's office is working. Yep, imagine it wasn't and there was a last-minute reprieve. If the form of execution is the chair, then its electrical components have to be tested. In one case we found, the actual governor was the person who they strapped in to test if he could get out or move out of the straps. I didn't want my staff to get kicked in the face, he remarked. 10:30 a.m. Now it's lunchtime. Yes, this is an early lunch, but let's not forget the inmate has been up a long time already. Lunch is not special, it's not the last meal. From what we can see, it's the same old prison food. The only difference is that the prisoner gets to eat it in a private setting. The inmate we talked about before said what he got for lunch was orange juice and what he called a prison-issue donut. For quite a few hours now, the prisoner has a lot of time to think, and as you know, they have a desk and can write any number of letters, goodbyes, or just reflect on life. 3 p.m. If the inmate is to get the electric chair, he'll have his head shaved around this time. But this might also happen later in the day. He might still talk to a spiritual advisor, but food might also be on his mind right now. Around this time, maybe an hour or so later, the inmate will also be asked to dress in one of those smart clothes he's been given. He'll be asked to take a shower before he does this, a shower at least in total privacy. He'll have already written down what he wants to eat, so in the kitchen, the death house chef will be doing all the preparations. 4 p.m. The inmate will receive his last meal. Contrary to popular belief, inmates can't just order what they want. It makes sense because it's highly unlikely that authorities would splash out on the finest Wagyu beef.
Oh, wow. So I was wrong then.
In Florida, for instance, the maximum this last meal can cost is $40, but this will change from state to state. Those poor convicts over in Oklahoma only get a limit of $15, or at least when one documentary we watched was made. That is hardly enough to go crazy on your last meal. It's still good though. As one death house chef pointed out, this meal is the only choice of food they might have had in 2 decades. In some states though, prisoners no longer get a bespoke last meal and only get the usual prison food. To give you an idea of what inmates might choose, we will list some last meals. Serial killer John Wayne Gacy had 12 fried shrimp, an entire bucket of KFC, some French fries, and a whole load of strawberries. The man behind the Oklahoma bombing, Timothy McVeigh, just opted for 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream. A killer from Florida called Angel Nieves Diaz chose absolutely nothing. The terrible Ted Bundy did pretty much the opposite, ordering a steak cooked medium rare, eggs on the side, over easy, some hash browns, slices of toast, and some milk and juice. The infamous female serial killer Eileen Wuornos was good with just a cup of coffee, while a murderer called Stephen Woods must have been famished. We should add that many thought he was innocent and his last words were, "You're not about to witness an execution, you're about to witness a murder." Before that, he asked to eat, according to the website Ranker, 2 pounds of bacon, a large 4-meat pizza, 4 fried chicken breasts, 2 drinks each of Mountain Dew, Pepsi, root beer, and sweet tea, 2 pints of ice cream, 5 chicken fried steaks, 2 hamburgers with bacon, fries, and a dozen garlic breadsticks with marinara on the side. That state must have had a big budget. 5 p.m. The witnesses will likely arrive at the prison. This might be family of the victims, journalists, family of the condemned, friends of the condemned, or whoever the condemned has asked to be witnesses. They will be told,
if anyone's watching this video and you've been to one of these, what is it like? Like, I can't imagine. It must be the weirdest settings and just everything about it must be so strange. I mean, it is, but I just can't put into words how I don't know, it's just such a strange situation But if you have been to this, I don't know if you will have, but if you hear me say this and you have, let me know in the comments, like, what is it like?
Try and stay quiet when they reach the witness room. Before that, they'll wait somewhere else. In most states, civilians who didn't know anyone involved will be asked to witness the execution. 6 to 8 p.m. The time of execution can vary from state to state, but it's just about always in the early evening. At this point, the prisoner will be taken to the execution room. The witnesses will soon be in the witness room. Prisoners, for the most part, will just walk right there and not give the guards any problems. In some states, this will be a 5-man team, just in case there is a struggle. But that doesn't happen often. One warden interviewed who had done 89 executions said he'd only had one prisoner that was hard to deal with. The walk to the chamber in most places is only about 10 feet, just over 3 meters. The guys would usually walk right up to the electric chair. They weren't forced by the staff. By that point, they've already accepted what will happen. A former Death Watch guard told Business Insider. Another guard in a separate interview said the same. Inmates usually act very dignified. It's a very clean procedure, there's no hustling and bustling. It's not always this way, especially if the prisoner is protesting his innocence. In 2018, the BBC reported that one man in Florida was screaming and thrashing before he was executed, screaming to everyone that they were murdering an innocent man. One warden said the first thing that catches his eye is that gurney, which is the place he's going to die. If it is lethal injection, which it often is, the prisoner is told to sit on the gurney and then lay down. There will be a tie-down team, each responsible for a part of the prisoner's body. Doctors will usually not be at the execution because it's not in line with their code of ethics, so there will be a special team to administer the drugs. This is not always easy as the veins tend to hide during this stressful time.
What? They hide? I would have thought they would like pump it out because your heart rate is boom, 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 like you're nervous as hell, you're scared as hell. That's when that's when I notice my veins pop out, but I guess maybe it's just such a strange situation, it just hides because your body knows hide so they don't kill you or whatever, I don't know, but that's a weird one.
Some of them had burnt veins from drugs, which would make the process longer and more painful, said one former warden. When the catheters are in place, the inmate will be secured again. There's about 15 minutes before the execution. Believe it or not, some inmates have got a stay, which means a call to stop the execution during these last minutes.
Wow, that must be such a sort of like relief. I can't imagine how much of a relief that would be. I mean, I guess they would have to come another time, but in that specific moment, that must be something that like you can't explain how that would make.
Doesn't
you feel,
happen.
But
The witnesses are brought into the main room and the curtains are undrawn. Some inmates might make a final statement. It depends on the state, but some prisoners might be given a few minutes, and others just allowed to make a brief statement. Kentucky gives 2 minutes, but in Pennsylvania you can't talk at all, and the statement can only be written. Here are some fairly recent examples of last words. I'm ready to roll. Time to get this party started. My last words will be, "Hoka hey, it's a good day to die. Somebody needs to kill my trial attorney. I think that governor's phone is broke. He hasn't called yet." These are, of course, unusual ones, and most people will just say their goodbyes to loved ones or give an apology for what they did. At this point, the chaplain might lay a hand on the prisoner, sometimes where there's a pulse. The warden will give the signal to the executioner, and then it's time. The end of the day, the end of a life. All we're going to ask you is, what do you think about it?
Wow, man, this is a crazy one. I mean, I've said this a lot, but this is a crazy one. It's just, it must be such a stressful thing on everyone involved, like. And there probably has been cases where people have been innocent and they've still had this happen to them. Like, it's a scary one, but I guess it's just how it is, isn't it? Imagine knowing that you're truly innocent and sitting helplessly waiting to die for a crime you didn't commit. Man, the emotions that would run through your head, I can't. Bro, it's a mad one, man. It really is. Imagine you're innocent, man, and you're just... Guards, any last words? Prisoner proceeds to roast everyone in the room. You're bald, you're fat, and I'm taller than all of you. Not for me because I'm not tall, but that'd be. I mean, it wouldn't be jokes, but I could definitely see that happening, man. Your head is big, boom, roasted, then gets roasted himself. Fuck's sake. The end of the day, the end of a life gave me chills. Guard, what is your last request? Inmate, release me. Okay. If only it was that easy. Imagine being proven innocent 20 seconds after dying. Bruh. 24, kinda hard to imagine after you've died. Wait, stop the exact. Never mind. Imagine the phone ringing at the last second and you hear the words, "Is this Domino's?" Oh my god. I was feeling real anxiety watching this. Anyone else? God, so what would you like for your last meal? Prisoner, 100 peanuts. Also prisoner dies of allergies. It's so sad. If I go to death row and get the electric chair, my last words are, this whole day has been shocking. Even though this is animated, it's still terrifying. I was feeling it, man, honestly. When the process is more terrifying, horrifying than dying. Anyone else get anxiety while watching this? Man, I'm just happy I'm never going to do anything like this, man, to cause this kind of situation, because you got to do some real messed up stuff for this to happen. Or, again, you're innocent and you've just found yourself so damn unlucky. Man, imagine being innocent in this situation. There must be cases, right, or like documentaries showing people that have been proven to be innocent after they've been killed, man. Fucking hell. That's a crazy thought, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this. A bit of a darker one, but again, still an interesting one to say the least. If there's more reactions you want to see like this, maybe some documentaries to do with death row inmates or prisoners, suggest what you want to see. But yeah, until next time, like, subscribe. Peace.